So, okay, gute Action.
We are actually already live.
Okay, all right, good.
So sorry for the delay, guys. Yeah, we just started two in parallel live Zooms, so therefore we needed to switch to another account. So yeah, but right now we are here, we are live with the great Benjamin, our CTO. So yeah, Benjamin, the stage is yours.
All right, thank you, Sergey. Please enable screen sharing for me,
Yes.
and then we are good to go. All right. So, yes, as Sergey said, good to go live. We will talk about the Binance Smart Chain in this webinar because we just launched on it. We just launched the peak payouts on the Binance Smart Chain, as well as the staking on the Binance Smart Chain. And yes, this is the reason that we want to tell you a bit about the tech behind it, of course. So here we go. After this, there will be time for a Q&A. So if you have any questions or feedback, happy to answer as far as I can. Happy to take your feedback, recommendations, and maybe suggestions even for topics for future webinars if you have a certain half technical topic in mind that you care about. So here we go. Binance Smart Chain. We will start with a comparison between the Ethereum 2 chains, Binance Chain, and Binance Smart Chain. Then I want to talk a bit about the motivation behind Binance Chain as well as Binance Smart Chain. Then show you the Binance Bridge because some of you will want to use this pretty soon, I am sure. And finally, just very quickly, I'll show you how to add Binance Smart Chain to your Metamask. So let's go. First things first, the native coins on the respective chains and their symbols. For Ethereum and Ethereum 2, you all know this. This is Ethereum is the name of the coin. The symbol is ETH on the Binance chain as well as the Binance Smart Chain. It's called the Binance coin and its symbol is the BNB. This shouldn't be news to most of you. The address formats on Ethereum as well as Ethereum 2, again, it starts with 0x. Everybody of you who is on Market Peak already and has received a peak token payout knows this. On Binance Chain, it looks a bit different. The addresses there start with BNB1. And here we have the first similarity already. On Binance Smart Chain, the addresses also begin with 0x and then again, long hexadecimal string. The basic token standards on the respective chains. Ethereum as well as Ethereum 2, it's an ERC20. That is the basic token. There are others as well, but the most basic one is the ERC20. The peak token is a ERC20 token as well. On Binance Chain, it's called the BEP2 standard, which is pretty much the same functionality-wise as the ERC20 on Ethereum. So it is capable of doing the very same things. And even more similar with the name already is the BEP20. That's what the standard is called on Binance Smart Chain. So again, very similar here between Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum 2. Not Binance Chain though. Maybe worth mentioning at this point is that Ethereum 2, as well as Binance Chain and Binance Smart Chain are completely separate chains, right? That means if you were to put offline Ethereum, which you can't, but just in theory, Ethereum 2 would be completely unaffected. Same goes for Binance Chain and Binance Smart Chain. They are separate blockchains, and turning off one would not affect the other at all. They're completely separate and independent of each other. Then the miners and validators, how many do we have and who can become one? A little reminder maybe for those who aren't aware or forgot, miners are what we call the nodes that confirm transactions and blocks on proof of work chains. And validators are what we call the nodes that validate, not mine, transactions and blocks on proof of stake chains. So there's a difference in name there. On Ethereum, we can have an arbitrary number of miners. Everybody can become a miner on Ethereum. You can just run a node on your computer if you want to and try mining. You will have a hard time competing with the big miners, but you can do it. The same goes for Ethereum 2. Everybody can become a validator. It is open for everybody. If you want to become a validator on Ethereum 2, all you have to do is stake 32 Ethereum or more, and then you can start validating and earning money with that. Of course, again, most validators stake way more than 32 Ethereum. And let's just, as an example, say there's 100 Ethereum staked overall validators. It's much more in reality, but just for an example. And if you have staked 1/3 of this and another validator has staked 2/3 of this, then you will get to validate about 1/3 of all transactions, and the other validator who staked about 2/3 will get about 2/3 of all transactions to validate. So the amount of transactions you are allowed to validate, and thereby the amount of money that you can make validating it, that is directly that corresponds directly to the share of the overall staked Ethereum that you got there. On Binance chain, and now this is quite different here, on Binance chain, we have a fixed number of validators, and it's a closed system. This means you cannot just become a validator on Binance chain. That doesn't work. Binance basically says who is allowed to be a validator and who isn't. The number is fixed, but it can be changed by Binance. But you or I, we cannot just go in there and become validators for Binance chain. On Binance Smart Chain, again, we have a fixed number of 21 validators. This number is, unlike on the Binance chain, this number is part of the protocol. This means it's not likely to change in the future, would require a change in protocol, which doesn't seem very likely. And it's a not quite, but a quasi-closed system. And what I mean by this is that the requirements to become one of those only 21 validators, there will not be any more, are really, really high. And it's extremely difficult to become a validator on Binance Smart Chain. This is why I like to call it quasi-closed. Imagine you want to trade and compete with the very largest hedge funds and banks trading on stock exchanges, on Wall Street, whatever. In theory, it's open for everybody and everybody has the same chances. In practice, not so much. I just remind of the GameStop thing that just happened, the short squeeze there. So it's not an even playing field for sure. So quasi-closed. Block times. On Ethereum, they were a bit longer when Ethereum started out. They are now down to about 13.2 seconds per block. On Ethereum 2, it's 12 seconds per block, about. On Binance chain, and here we see a big difference, we have 1 block every second. So Binance chain is faster, definitely, which is one of the core goals for Binance chain, to be extremely fast, and it is. And on Binance Smart Chain, we have a block time of about 3 seconds on average. So again, it's quite a bit faster than Ethereum or Ethereum 2. The consensus mechanisms are different as well. On Ethereum, as mentioned before, this is why we have miners on Ethereum. We use proof of work as a consensus mechanism. Same as Bitcoin, you know this, you can mine, costs a lot of energy. The more people mine, the more difficult it becomes to mine, the more energy is used. Ethereum 2 is switching to proof of stake. The main goal of Ethereum 2 compared to Ethereum 1 is to increase scalability massively. And switching away from proof of work is one of the important ways to do this. There's a few other things as well, also other goals than just the performance. But yeah, proof of stake and high performance compared to Ethereum, speaking about transactions per second, basically, which also impacts the transaction costs that you will incur. Yeah, this is what Ethereum 2 is for. On Binance chain, we have a completely different thing. Binance chain uses Tendermint, I won't go into too much detail about this. For one reason, this would take quite a bit of time, and I think it would also be a bit much for the tolerance of most of our viewers. It's quite technical, quite mathematical. Tendermint is an implementation of the so-called Byzantine fault tolerance. The idea of Byzantine fault tolerance is, to just put this out quickly, if you want to know more, hit up Google, I suggest. The name comes from the problem of having Byzantine generals, and they have to coordinate an attack or a withdrawal. So basically the army will be successful if all the generals either attack at the same time or withdraw at the same time. But if some attack and some withdraw, then the Byzantine army will lose. So the question here is, how can the communication be managed? And how can it be managed so that everybody does the right thing and the same thing, agrees on the same thing, although there might even be subverted, fraudulent, or evil generals in this. So that's a very cool and interesting thing, but it goes too far explaining here though. But yeah, that's where the name comes from, Byzantine fault tolerance. And Binance Smart Chain, last but not least, uses proof of staked authority. That's what they call it. And proof of authority basically is, as opposed to proof of work, where it is where it's secured by a lot of hashing power, a lot of computational power, and as opposed to proof of stake, where the network is secured by the high stake that people that are validators put in. And if they are malicious validators, then they will lose part or all of their stake, and they don't want that. The proof of authority basically just says, we assign authority to a few nodes, to a few individuals, and then they can validate. And it doesn't matter how much computing power they have. It doesn't matter if or how much they have staked anything. They just get authority assigned, and by this authority, they are now allowed to validate. And the staked comes into it because on Binance Smart Chain, those 21 validators have to stake Binance Coin, BNB, and quite a bit too. And they can also get stakes validated from others. So this is why it's called staked authority. Now the question is, what kind of FI are we even talking about here? And by FI, I mean finance. So I think you are all aware that the old school banking system is very centralized finance, because who literally owns your money when it's on your bank account? Your bank does, you don't. Your bank can decide to, they rarely do, but they can decide to not allow you to withdraw your money. The bank can change the balance on your bank account. So it is centralized finance. And if you're withdrawing money, if you're transferring money from your bank account, every single time you do that, you are asking your bank for permission. And in theory, the bank can withhold permission. So that is old school centralized finance. On Ethereum and Ethereum 2, that is not the case. There, same goes for Bitcoin, of course, and most others. There you are the authority over your own assets and only you. So this is decentralized finance, short DeFi. Binance Chain, as I've said, is completely in the hand of validators chosen by Binance. And so this is, again, a form of centralized finance. Although it's a blockchain, the implementation makes it centralized finance. The centralized part here talking about the governance of it, not the distribution of the data, which is also distributed around the globe, but the governance is completely centralized. So we call it centralized finance. And maybe some of you can now already figure out what CDeFi means on the Binance Smart Chain. Give me a moment, please. The CDeFi stands for centralized, decentralized finance. And what they mean by this is basically that it is a proof of stake authority. So in that regard, it's pretty centralized, but it's also DeFi because as opposed to Binance Chain, Binance Smart Chain is smart contract capable and therefore allows DeFi just as is possible on the Ethereum chain. So you have decentralized finance on a centralized chain, centralized, decentralized finance, CDeFi. Do feel free to forget those terms. They're not that important, but it can't hurt to have heard it and understand it as well. So now let's get into the motivation. Why does Binance Chain exist? Why does Binance Smart Chain exist? What's the point behind that? What were they thinking about? Binance Chain, the point and the reason for that is that Binance wanted to have some chain that allows extremely fast and extremely cheap transactions of the native token, the Binance coin, as well as other arbitrary tokens, similar to ERC20, the BEP2 tokens. And it is also to have these extremely fast and cheap transactions for decentralized swaps. The main use case of Binance Chain is Binance's own decentralized exchange, the Binance DEX. And you could say that Binance Chain is the house chain for the Binance DEX. It was basically made for Binance DEX. And what can you do on Binance Chain? It is very limited, very focused on exactly these use cases, token transactions and decentralized swaps and trades, but nothing else. But this focus makes it very fast and very cheap. So you can send, receive, mint, and burn tokens, as you can do with ERC20s on the Ethereum chain. You can suggest new trading pairs if they don't exist already. And of course, that is the main point of the Binance chain. You can trade pairs, swap tokens on the Binance DEX using Binance Chain. The Binance Smart Chain is not extremely fast, but it's still very fast and also very cheap for the transactions. The difference to Binance Chain is that Binance Smart Chain, and this is where the smart comes into the name, it comes with full smart contract capability. And Binance Chain does not have smart contract capability. The only smart contract thing about it are the DEXs. But apart from that, not much more. Binance Smart Chain, full smart contract capabilities as you have on Ethereum. How is that? Why is that? Well, that is because it is fully compatible 100% to the EVM, the so-called Ethereum virtual machine. That means that the very same smart contracts that are working and already running on Ethereum work just the same on Binance Smart Chain. It is the same to develop smart contracts for Binance Smart Chain as it is on Ethereum. They use the same programming language. And what was the motivation of making a new blockchain so very, very compatible? And by very compatible in this case, I mean 100% completely compatible with Ethereum? Well, that's a rather smart move of Binance because Ethereum is the oldest smart contract platform. It is by far the biggest and most used smart contract platform. That means it has the most tools available. And these, with tiniest of tweaks, work on Binance Smart Chain as well. The Ethereum network has the biggest community just because it's been around the longest. And it is pretty good at its job, admittedly. And it also has the highest number of developers. So no other blockchain has as many developers that are able to develop for it as Ethereum has or the EVM has. And this is why Binance chose to make it 100% compatible so that, as I said, all the tools, the whole community and all the developers, they can move over to Binance Smart Chain or work and live on both blockchains without any issue whatsoever. Maybe the tiniest tweaks here and there, something like changing the chain ID. I will show this in a little demo when we add the Binance Smart Chain to the Metamask. But yeah, I would say that's a pretty smart move of Binance because that means that from the start, you are able to have a huge community and you can have loads of projects right away, loads of tokens right away, and they do. So this is already the end of the comparison here. So there wasn't too much actually, but I think the most important things are done. If you have deeper questions, ask them in the chat. After I'm done with the short demonstrations, I will talk about that a bit. I will answer a few questions. And if some people really care about a technical deep dive, let me know. We can do that too in another webinar if the interest is there. That would be much more technical than this one though. So now I want to show you first the different explorers for the different blockchains that we have. Let's start with the old and well-known, you all know this, Etherscan. This is etherscan.io. You all know this. You can see transactions here. As I said, this is just a random transaction. Those transaction hashes start with 0x. The addresses start with 0x. You're all aware of that. And of course, if you put in our peak token contract address, then you get to our peak token contract on the Ethereum network, and you can look at the transactions here as well. Now, Ethereum 2 block explorer, that is the beaconscan.com, because the Ethereum 2 network in phase 0 is called Beacon Chain. Here you can see this looks a bit different. You see the latest blocks, you see the validators. Interestingly enough, you don't see individual transactions here. So there are a few more differences between Ethereum 1 and Ethereum 2 than just the performance. There's also a bit more privacy and other things in this. Now let's get over to Binance. This is the Binance Chain Explorer, explorer.binance.org. That is not Binance Smart Chain, it's the older Binance Chain. And here, as I've said, things look very different compared to Ethereum and Ethereum 2 at least. So you see a transaction hash here, looks different, it does not start with 0x. And as mentioned before, the addresses start with BNB1. So that is a bit of a difference. And now Binance Smart Chain Explorer, bscscan.com. Here you can again see blocks and transactions. And here again, it looks basically the same to the Ethereum Explorer. And yeah, as I said, right, it starts with 0x as well for the transaction hashes. It starts with 0x as well for the addresses. So yeah, it is 100% compatible to Ethereum, and this is why it basically looks just the same and works just the same. Now, enough about the explorers. I want to introduce you to Binance Bridge. For those of you who are not aware of that yet, Binance Bridge connects three different blockchains with each other. This is the Ethereum blockchain, the Binance chain, and the Binance Smart Chain. So if you want to transfer an asset between these chains, this is what you can use to do so. Binance Bridge does not charge any fees. You will, of course, have to pay network fees, transaction fees, as you always do. And if you're starting with Ethereum, this can be a bit more. If you're starting on Binance or on Binance Chain or Binance Smart Chain, it is not so much. So for an example, here they even have more networks integrated, by the way. So they also have the TRX network integrated here, and two others, one other that is suspended right now. So if you wanted to move, let's say, let's just use USDT, because why not, from Ethereum to the BSC network, then you would just choose from Ethereum network to Binance Smart Chain network, or the others if that's what you want. Up here, you choose your asset. We'll just stick with USDT for this tiny demo. And then you connect your wallet. As you are used from other DeFi projects, then your Metamask will pop up. You can choose Metamask or the Binance Chain wallet to connect. And then, bam, you can transfer from one blockchain to the other with that. Pretty easy to use, pretty slick design. I like it. And no fees on top of the network fees, at least I like that too. That's pretty cool. So now, last but not least, I will show you very quickly how to add the Binance chain, the Binance Smart Chain to Metamask. You can't add the Binance chain to Metamask because it's technically different, but the Binance Smart Chain you can. And this is how it works. I would suggest that you expand the view, because that just is easier to handle. Then up here, you can choose the network. You usually have this just on Ethereum mainnet, because of course. Then you see a few other different test networks. I have a local host here because I use that for development as well. If you want to add different networks like the Binance Smart Chain, you just hit up the custom RPC. and then you copy the data over. So we need the network name as at first, Binance Smart Chain. You can call it what you want, basically. That part is not important, but why not call it what it's called? Then next, we need the RPC URL. We get this just simply from the Binance documentation. And here it says the mainnet is the mainnet RPC URL is the is this one that I'm copying here, bsc-dataseed.binance.org. Paste this in here. Done with that. Then we need the transaction. Excuse me. Then we need the chain ID. So all these different Ethereum networks have different chain IDs. It is the 56 for the Binance Smart Chain. Copy over the symbol for the native token, the native coin. That is the BNB, the Binance coin. And last thing, you copy over the Block Explorer URL. That is this one here, bscscan.com. Then you hit save, and then you're done. That is it. And now you can choose between your Ethereum mainnet, all the other networks you might have added, and between the Binance Smart Chain. And here you see it shows me 0 BNB, so it already works. It is as simple as that. And with this was a rather short webinar, but everything I wanted to tell you I did. So with this, I am done with my presentation. And now we can look into the chat. I will have a look into the chat and look at what questions you might have. And I will do my best to answer you. All right. We have the first question here. How can I get the peak token via bridge to the smart chain? It's not listed. Yes, that is correct. We are working on it. We are working on it. That is correct.
So maybe until you check the questions, Benjamin, I can also show how you showed them how to buy the peak token, correct? I can show them how they can stake them. So because I think that you didn't show, yeah?
That is correct, yeah. I just showed how to use.
If you bought your first peak token on the Binance Smart Chain, then you can go to peakdefi.com, yeah? Or maybe you have a referral link by a sponsor, yeah? Then you can go here to Binance Smart Chain, and here you will get asked to switch your wallet if your MetaMask is on Ethereum, okay? Oh, too much here. So, and then you can change your wallet to, yeah, I need to check. Yes, it's still not, oh, I have too much accounts. So, okay. So, and then I switch to Smart Chain, how Benjamin showed you. And then you can here just go to stake and start to stake your peak token. Yeah, you can choose how much peak you want. And you see on the right side, here's a calculator. So you can choose how much you want and how long. Yeah, you can decide between 10 days and 1,000 days. And here we have 3 types of bonuses. So the bigger, the longer, and the earlier you start to stake, the more rewards you get. So that's very important. And if you just click on stake, the MetaMask popping up, and that's it. Yeah. So wait a second. Need to refresh site. Stake peak for 1,000. Ah, yeah. He was connected with the wrong wallet. So you click on stake, and then you will get asked. Yeah. So and you look at this, so low fees. That's so amazing. And yeah, it's less than $1, and that's nice. And then you see here how much peak you can claim. you see I staked here 8,000 peak and here 2,000 peak, and you see every second your claimable peak rewards are growing, and then you can claim them, add them every time. Also, you have here the affiliate section. Yeah, so here you have all your levels. You can activate them by staking peak, and if you stake 10,000 peak token, then you can activate all levels, and that's it. So and every time if a commission comes, you can see it completely transparent on the blockchain. So right now, the last commission that I get here was 35 peak token. So I click on that, and you see all commissions that happened on the Binance Smart Chain. That's it. So you can start straight away with this as soon you have the peak token on the Binance Smart Chain. Yeah. And yeah, Benjamin, you can go on with the questions if you want.
Thank you, Sergey. And yes, Sergey mentioned a very important point, actually, that I kind of neglected to mention. And that is what makes the Binance Smart Chain so attractive right now. That's the fees, mainly really the fees, much more interesting than the transaction times, because let's be honest, if it takes 12 seconds or a minute or 3 seconds or 10, that's really not so important. But as Sergey just demonstrated, the fees on BSC are extremely low. They are in the cent areas for token transactions, and even decentralized swaps can be less than $1 or at most a few dollars. Whereas right now on the Ethereum chain, I was just decentralized swapping, that means buying a few tokens a few days ago, and I paid between $40 and $100 of transaction fees. And that makes it, honestly, that makes it pretty unattractive. It is prohibitively expensive, particularly if you want to trade something like $1,000 or less, and then you pay $100+ for the decentralized swap. That basically makes it infeasible. So that is what makes it so attractive right now to work on Binance Smart Chain. This will change later when Ethereum 2 phase 2 is out. Fingers crossed this should happen in the second half of 2022, and when the scalability is there and the smart contract capability on Ethereum 2, then the fees will be comparable again. But until this happens, Binance Smart Chain is much more attractive for daily use because of the extremely low fees. That is completely correct, yes. And now we do have a question or two. Rosie asked, from the ID, why did you only copy the 56 and not the complete ID? Let me quickly show you again that the 56 is the, oh, that's the wrong window. That it is the very same thing. It is the same ID. So here it says the chain ID is 56 in decimal, so our everyday number system, and the 0x38 it's the same number. It's 56 in hexadecimal. So that is no difference whatsoever. The chain ID is just 56. And yeah, here it says if it doesn't work, which it usually does, but if you're using some arcane command line tool, maybe it expects a hex number instead of a decimal one, then you use the other one. But yeah, basically 56 is the chain ID, and that is that. Okay, do we have any more questions? How can I stake existing peak? Yeah, that was just demonstrated by Sergey. And is the reward on Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum are the same database? I don't quite understand the question.
Maybe I can answer. I don't know what. So it's you need to understand that it's of course different chains. Yeah. But we did yesterday with the launch, we did a complete migration to Binance Smart Chain. So the whole structure or all users were already staked or invested at Peak DeFi on Ethereum blockchain. We migrated same to the Binance Smart Chain. So maybe it's this his question. And in the future, if you, for example, refers a person, a user, to Binance Smart Chain, and this person, this user starts to stake, then you get a commission, okay? And if this same person will stake 3 months later on the Ethereum blockchain, then you also will get a commission. So we made a solution that don't matter on which blockchain your referrer, your user starts to stake or to invest, it will be, how to explain, it will be migrated automatically to the other chain also. Yeah. Maybe is this the answer to his question? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Then we have the question, already staked peak on the Ethereum blockchain can obviously not be transferred to the Binance chain. That is correct, because if they're staked, then they are locked up for a moment, of course. And if we were to copy your stake over to the other chain, then certainly suddenly you would have double the number of tokens, right? So that kind of doesn't work economically. So that is not quite possible. Can I explain the rewards on Ethereum and BSC? The reward structures for staking on Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain are the same. They have the same reward structures. They have the same bigger bonus, longer bonus, and early bonus. So yes, they are basically the same reward structure for staking on both chains, yes. The next question. Does the BNB have to come from Binance to be able to send it to Metamask? Where you get your BNB, that doesn't matter, but you do need BNB to work on the Binance chain as well as the Binance Smart Chain to basically pay the equivalent of gas fees on the, can we please calm down in the chat and not be offensive? Thank you very much. You have to pay, obviously, network fees, right? So on Ethereum, you need to have Ethereum if you want to make token transfers, because you pay the gas fee in Ethereum. And on the Binance chain and the Binance Smart Chain, you have to do the same thing using BNB, Binance Coin, but a lot less if you calculate the dollar value of that. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we have the question again. If you already stake 10,000 peak on Ethereum, then you will not have the 10,000 peak staked on Binance Smart Chain, of course, because if we would copy your 10,000 tokens over, then you have 20,000 tokens, right? That's just not how it works. So the tokens that are staked already on one chain and in the future too. If you stake on Binance Smart Chain, then you're staking on Binance Smart Chain. If you're staking on Ethereum, then you're staking on Ethereum. They are separate chains, if compatible. But no, we're not, basically, we are not doubling your tokens. We're not doing that, yes. And somebody is asking, what is peak? The peak token is just a token of the market peak community, and we're also using it for Peak DeFi, our decentralized investment fund. Check it out. I might be biased, of course, because I work here, but they're both pretty cool projects. One more of an education platform, and the other is where you can A, stake your peak tokens, and B, also just invest into a decentralized fund. One of a kind so far, really cool concept. Not going into detail in this webinar about that, but there are videos on this channel. And yeah, just check it out. It's a really cool idea. And the concept of peakdefi.com and the decentralized fund, which is self-optimizing, which is a really smart thing, but I'm not going to explain this today. That's really cool. Check it out. I recommend it. The concept, as I said, one of a kind. It's a really, really smart one, and I wish it was my own idea. Sadly, it wasn't. It was the idea of the boss, Sergey Heck. Okay, what am I buying the peak with? You can buy peak tokens on quite a few exchanges. The biggest exchange we are on right now is the OKX exchange. We'll be listed there very soon. And you can also buy it on a few others. You can buy it on a few decentralized exchanges where you can find a list of exchanges where you can buy peak tokens on the website. Marketpeak.com will show you where you can buy peak tokens if you're interested in that. The last question, so it's just F. I'm not sure if I understand the question. I mean, it's F on Ethereum chain. It is BNB on Binance chain and Binance Smart Chain. They are basically the same thing on the respective chains, right? They are the native coins of the chains. Like Bitcoin is the native coin, the BTC is the native coin of the Bitcoin blockchain. I hope that answers your question, not quite sure. D-Man says Ethereum is king. I personally do agree with that actually, but we can't get around the fact that right now the transaction fees on Ethereum are extremely high, and that makes it a bit unattractive for daily use. As I said, you can have a few dollars for a swap on BSC, where you can pay 100 or more even dollars on the Ethereum chain. Sorry, I'm not asking the same question. I'm not answering the same question 3 or 4 times. Sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, I would say we closed the webinar right now, so
Alrighty.
already enough questions. So yeah, thank you very much to all of you. Thank you to Benjamin also. And yeah, to underline again the last question, we are still more in Ethereum believers. So you don't need to forget it, because Ethereum is more decentralized. It has more, it has the bigger network effect, more developers working on it. But you need to check. You need to always to be competitive in this market. And right now, Ethereum needs to solve some things, and they will solve it. But until now, the decision was to move 25% of the tokens to the Binance Smart Chain. So there still will be 75% of the Ethereum tokens on the of peak on the Ethereum blockchain. And yeah, so as soon, I think also as soon Ethereum 2.0 will launch and the fees will be also very less, I think also many people will also move to Ethereum back again. And therefore, and the solution is to use both. Yeah, we can use the advantage of both chains right now, because I also believe that Binance will not disappear, the Binance Smart Chain, because Binance has an unfair advantage of the community of the exchange. So yeah, therefore I believe both changes will exist, and therefore we decided to use them both. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly as Sergey said, I personally agree with that as well. Philosophically speaking, I like Ethereum much, much more, because it's actually truly decentralized, which is what which is what cryptocurrencies and the DeFi should be about in my mind. So as a temporary solution until phase 2 of Ethereum 2 goes live, Binance Smart Chain can be a good alternative. As soon as phase 2 of Ethereum 2 is live, I myself don't see a reason to use it anymore, because then the one thing that is not great on Ethereum right now, which is the fees, will be good again. And yeah, with this, I think we can end the webinar. Sorry, Shivam, we're not giving out any coin tips. Coin tips up now. You're asking what is my personal favorite blockchain to program in? This I can answer. This is Ethereum for me. I didn't work with all the blockchains, admittedly. So for me, it's just Ethereum, because this is what I am the fittest in, right? So I can program best in Solidity compared to other smart contract languages on other chains. That does not necessarily mean that it's the best solution. It's just what works best for me, because that's what I know best. All right, then one last info. We will have this English language international webinar, the technical one, as well in the future every week on Thursdays, but at 5 p.m. CET, so 2 hours earlier than today. Just FYI, if you want to tune in again, this 5 p.m. CET Thursday appointment will be yeah, will be me talking something technical to you and explaining things so that you get an understanding, not just making money, but getting why it's so awesome aside from making money, because there's much more that makes it very cool than just the gains you can make.
All right, so thank you very much to all. And I would say we see us next Thursday in the next blockchain webinar at 5 p.m. So bye-bye to everyone.
Rosi, German ist still, Deutsch ist immer noch Dienstag, 21 Uhr.
Yes.
Ciao, ciao.